I don't know if you heard this before, but Christmas has nothing to do with Jesus. And this is Pastor Sean coming to you live from Death Church Radio Podcast, and also the Sean C. Stuckey Show on Facebook and on YouTube here. Now, I was watching a video last week. I'm not going to say the name of the channel because I don't want to use salty language here on the show, even though 2 videos ago I was almost cussing because of how mad I was getting about YouTube's policies, the people that work on this website, whatnot. I'm going to caffeine, guys. So anyways, there's a Pharaoh where I was watching his videos and also Chronicles of Judah, and this young Pharaoh guy, along with a lot of people that I guess believe in this, I don't know, like school of thought or something that has to do with where they believe that Jesus and Satan are the same deity, like in Mormonism, where they are brothers, the aspects of good versus evil. And I mean, it's nothing but far from the truth, but online, there is just so much ridiculousness out there of so much misinformation about biblical theology, mythology. I mean, the information I've been watching lately has to do with Egyptian gods and their culture and how a lot of people have been adopting that lately as like kind of like a strange like underground movement kind of thing, at least that I've noticed, which I'm fine with. You can, I mean, as a pastor, I'm saying that you should study mythology. I mean, I study Apocrypha books. Currently, right now, for the last 2 weeks, I've been studying through the NIV Bible. So that's my main focus right now, which should technically be everybody's focus. But the video was entitled, or not entitled, but the main message that Christmas don't got nothing to do with Jesus, okay? And explaining that it was originally a pagan holiday, that the Christian sect at the time took Easter, took Christmas, and took Halloween. Like if you look at the origins of those holidays, it goes back to paganism, pretty much. Like, go ahead and do your own research on this, because I just wrote out a small script where I just read out this comment on this guy's channel, because he was saying that that you can go ahead and just make the connection that Jesus and Satan are the same deity, because God referred to himself as Lucifer in the Bible, even though it's like I've read a lot of the original texts of the Bible. I've been to 200-300 hours worth of sermons in multiple different churches, and I've not heard that one time. I've read the Bible front to back about 3 or 4 times already, and I have not seen that in any place. So I wrote a little script thing here of this long comment explaining why you've seen, like, because the guy was saying that you can make these distinctions and connect them as similarities because they're holding up the 2 hands like this, where the Pope is doing it, and Catholic bishops and priests and whatnot, along with the Pope himself. What's his name? Pope Benedict the something. So, or Pope Francis, I mean. And then you have Behemoth, or one of the archdemons in the whole realm of Satanism, doing that same thing on that with that hand sign. I mean, you probably have seen kids that have those drawings of Satan with the 2 horns up like that, and you saw the statue with the kids next to Satan, and that's where the guy made those 2 distinctions and similarities to connect them together. So obviously the answer is no, and let me go ahead and read you guys a script that I wrote out for you guys to chew on, okay? So it's YouTube, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, there's information that is completely misconstrued, just screwed up, completely chopped and screwed all over the place, where so many people have no idea what they think, why they think it, where did they get this information. Like I was talking to a guy like literally 2 weeks ago. Excuse me, got something in my throat. Where he said he got his morality from art and television. So anyways, I was trying not to laugh about that when I was debating this guy, but I mean, obviously he has no idea what he's talking about. But anyways, so some of these theologians and teachers online that come out of the Babylonian school sect are preaching here online that Jesus and Satan are the same deity. And I do understand, being that I'm a former Mormon, that is it is a well-established theology in the Mormon church, I'll put it like that, that Jesus and Satan are brothers. Okay, it's a good versus evil aspect. So I'm going to explain to you why that's not right. Even going over original text. So obviously, Satan is not the true Messiah. He doesn't refer, Jesus has at not one point in any of the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, even if you go through the original text, that he referred to himself as the light bringer. So just because you see Pope Francis and the behemoth statue holding up two fingers on the left hand, this is not sufficient proof of that. The symbolism of them doing that hand gesture on the left is to mock God the Father, okay? It is all over the place, or not all over the place, but it is in several different books of the Bible, especially the Old Testament, where God holds up his justice with his right hand. So when you see someone from like a church sect that's not Christian exactly like Catholicism, for example, and then you see the differences of like the complete, what you would think is the upside down of Satanism. When you study, demonology, and you see that they have the two hands up like this or like this, you can't make those two connections there that, oh, well, Jesus was really Satan. That doesn't make any sense. What they're doing is they're mocking God the Father, because it talks about in the Old and New Testaments, once again, he's holding up righteousness with his right hand. Jesus is sitting at the right hand of the Father after he ascended into heavens, talked about in the book of Acts. Also, when Stephen saw that. So, I haven't read Acts in a while, actually. So, anyways, the Father is depicted in Acts, or in his, not Acts the book, but in Actions, or protection throughout the Bible, is holding up his righteousness with his right hand. Okay, using Isaiah for an example: "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will hold you up," Isaiah, "with my righteous right hand." That's in chapter 41, verse 10. Okay. Now, what this guy, young Farrell, was talking about is that if you hold up these two fingers right here, it is called the apostolic succession. Okay. So what this really means is that this is a church tradition that most likely stems from some type or form of denomination in Catholicism, which means basically a continuing of a line of bishops. Apostolic succession. That's what that means. It just means the line of bishops. It does not mean the hand signal. Okay. So when you see the behemoth throwing up that sign, when you see the behemoth, those pictures going like this, he's actually throwing up what is called the sign of the cross. Okay. So Jesus, nowhere in the Bible, even going through the original text, is referring to himself as the morning star. Okay. There was a clear distinction between Satan, which means Satan in the original text, or Ha-Satan, Ha meaning the, and Satan meaning accuser. So the accuser. And also the polar opposite, which would be the word. So these are two completely different spiritual deities. Okay. The word being Christ, Ha-Satan, the accuser, that's Satan. Okay. It's even in the book of Job. That's where I got Ha-Satan at. So one is a creative being that fell from grace due to his pride. Okay. I can see how you connect them as the same deity, being Satan's other alias is Lucifer, which translates into light bringer, and Christ being the Son of God, but he's also translated as the God of light. So both of these have, are luminaries at the same time. You can see how there's quite a few people online that get that confused. When I really was looking into this last week, when I was supposed to be working. Okay. So I was working. I'm a security guard. I don't do that much. Jesus Christ, Yeshua Christo, Christo, so the Christ. This is the original text, okay? Or Jesus the Christ. So he, Jesus, has always been in the Trinity and as always has always existed, whereas Lucifer had an inception or birth, if you will. Continuing, the sign of the cross is a symbol of One finger meaning immortal deity, and one finger meaning mortal humanity. Okay, even though Jesus obviously wasn't immortal, but he was 100% man. Okay, so I do agree that the Pope is the head of all religion on earth, as in Catholicism is one of, if not the largest satanic religion on the planet right now. Satanism splits into denominations just like Christ's bride, i.e., voodoo, shamans, Pan worshippers, Baal worship, Scientology, State of Islam, white and black Wicca magic, ancient Babylonian magic schools, Celtic magic, Nordic magic. This keeps going. The one that I found out from the book of Deuteronomy when I read that through 2 weeks ago was really interesting, because there's a god in there named Asherah, and God told his people, the Israelites, to destroy the Asherah poles when they went to different sections of, I believe it was Israel. So I was aware of Asher, but I completely forgot about that god, or the mother goddess. I mean, we're going to do a video on the whore of Babylon, which is talked about in the book of Revelation. I was actually just telling Ray about that. I was telling my fiance about that yesterday when we were walking around Target, because there are quite a bit of women, Western women in society, that feel it is okay and empowering when they think it's feminism, but really they are worshiping the great whore of Babylon that drinks the blood of the saints. Okay, and she declares herself, the queen of the hive of all, of all humanity. So when you see, like, how I make the connection of how I perceive things in my head, when I see a woman who's scantily clad in public, like wearing hardly any clothes and showing off her body, unbeknownst to her, she is worshiping that whore. Okay, because it has nothing to do with edification of, you're lifting up yourself and how you look. What does that have to do with Jesus? It has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with anything that's holy. So, it's a bit shocking, because when you connect these things, you can connect feminism to that thing there at all. It's like it comes from that stem right there. So it's just like diversity. Diversity is not a biblical concept. So anyways, I do believe that these things are inherently interwoven. Since ancient times, they are just repackaged with the same archdemons being worshipped, but Christ is outside of this equation. You ever seen the coexist sticker? So all those things are ancient. Okay, being that the Trinity is the most ancient of all ancients, but I'm talking about like Asher, Asherah, the fish god, like these different gods, being Satan also being one of the ones that are worshipped if you go back like thousands of years. So I would, however, need specific evidence that ancient Greek language did not have any vowels, because the guy said it was the sound that a snake makes, okay, is how you would pronounce Christ's name. Like when they wrote King of the Jews, and then they put the 4 letters over the cross when Jesus was being crucified, like right over that, the book of Matthew that I just read, that the ancient Greek did not have any vowels, so it wasn't a sound like a hiss, like that, which refers to like when a snake, makes that sound with its tongue. So that's why there's certain people online that make those connections that Jesus is Satan. Oh, I don't know, man. But I mean, these things are really ancient. They're just repackaged nowadays. Like, if you really think about it, it's like the whole thing of modern feminism right now, like all these things that just came in this black wave since 1960, all the way into modern day right now of 2020, that these all things are all interwoven with each other that was going on thousands of years ago. It just looks different nowadays. Like the whore of Babylon has always been there. These have always been there also when they fell from grace. Like we're talking about, when I'm going to say the book of Genesis that I'm aware of, because this whole thing, this part of demonology is up for debate as to when the angels fell and then morphed into demons that are anti-God, anti-Christ. So even though it is interesting, like when you read the Bible, I forgot what book in the New Testament, that there are people that are walking around that have debased brains, or just regular people that you would see as regular, quote unquote, a so-called regular person that's actually an antichrist. There's millions of antichrists walking the planet right now. So anyways, that's so that was the response I made to this one guy. His name is Young Pharaoh, or Black Pharaoh. Um, there is just so much. It is shocking that there is so much misinformation online. And I'm not talking about Christians that have not gone to college to get degrees in divinity, or even get a bachelor's degree in some kind of divinity program. I mean, I have a 1-year trade school degree in Calvin biblical theology. And I mean, at this point, I don't even technically believe that a lot of people should even be going to college at this point. I mean, I'm trying to go back to Phoenix Community College to try to get my doctorate and become a clinical psychologist. But I mean, at this point, it's just, I mean, I just read a thing in the news yesterday that UC Boulder is now going to start ejecting people's applications, students that are trying to get into the school, if they don't support Black Lives Matter. And the students that are not supporting Black Lives Matter, that are currently students now, there is a possibility they could get expelled by the dean for not submitting to that. So it is, there is what I would suggest is that for the people that like to watch my videos on here or send me messages on Facebook or whatnot, what I would personally suggest is that you would get a trade school degree instead. I mean, do you want to drive a forklift? I mean, you can do so many things. Like, there are a lot of options for a good stand-up guy, a good stand-up man that can do something without needing to go through the leftist university system and have, you know, I'm not saying that there's a possibility you wouldn't be able to deal with these kind of things in like a quote unquote Christian university, because I've heard nothing but horror stories with that too, like reading different entries online of people, you know, writing out confessions about that, having different pastors talk about different like colleges all around the US where people are trying to get like a divinity degree and whatnot, and they're being taught things that are not even biblical. Like, I mean, so it's you know, it's, my thing is that college should be a battleground for ideas. It is supposed to be a killing field for all ideas of psychologies, philosophies, theologies. And that it's not just supposed to be one thing and then no one's allowed to speak on any other thing. I mean, you know, that's just how I personally perceive that. But then, I mean, it's all like one big cathedral. So how I see these things as in a general term is that the cathedral, a lot of those are like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Oxford, obviously UC Boulder, like these things that are pushing this narrative and are pushing this specific agenda as to how you're supposed to conduct yourself, how you're supposed to, it's like, I mean, if anybody here has read the book 1984, I mean, I read it twice back when I was like 18, but 19. But these are the breakdowns of what could happen. Also, the Gulag Archipelago with Dr. Jordan Peterson wrote the foreword for the new edition of it. So the cathedral is basically these things that are controlled. I mean, it's in the music industry. I mean, a lot of universities. I mean, basically anything that's high up, like banks. Like, there's all these things that are interwoven and connected together, and that go upwards to all these kind of different people that are millionaires and billionaires, right? That are trying to they are trying to manipulate society in such a way to make you think certain things, okay? And altogether, it stems where there is one source, just like when I was talking about earlier with voodoo, like from like Haiti, and then you have the state of Islam, so Muslims in this side of the world. You have Joseph Smith with, Mormonisms in this side of the world. Like you have all these things that don't really have anything to do with Christ. So all of these things are denominations that go up to one source, which is Satan, the unholy trinity, Beelzebub, Belial, and Lucifer. So like when I was seeing like those women when walking around at Target or pretty much anywhere that I go in society, if you're not dressed conservatively as a woman or conservatively as a man, you would have to judge and make the assumption that this person is not saved. Okay. So like, who they bow down to if they realize they're doing it or they don't realize they're doing it. So, I mean, that's how I feel on those subjects. Not to say that I'm not open to it, because I do watch, like I was saying in last week's video, I do listen to once a week Slavoj Žižek's college lectures. I'm open to listening to anything, to break down anything, and I have a rule for myself, and that is I always keep myself open to correction. So if I feel that I'm being a little too being a zealot for this aspect of whatever it is when it comes to politics or religion or just any kind of, any kind of thought process, I guess, I would leave myself open up to correction, because that's just being, that's just a part of being a mature adult, to conduct myself in such a way where if someone's trying to tell me something that is of something that I don't personally believe in, I'm going to listen and do research. Like I was telling that guy who basically just told me to F off at the end of the conversation when I wouldn't agree with him on the stance, my personal stance on antinatalism. Look that up. Where it's just this thing with, it's a thing with millennials nowadays. It's a thing with young people like me and below me. I mean, I'm 31, but below that, it's like millennials just don't understand that what you have in here for your perception is not supposed to be how reality is supposed to work. You're supposed to bow yourself to ethics and standards, especially Christian Judeo culture that we live in. And then you see the toppling of statues and whatnot, which I don't personally care either way. Like personally, like when I saw that those freedom fighters, quote unquote, tore down that statue of Christopher Columbus and then threw it in the bay. I mean, look, my dad told me a lot of nasty things that guy did. He came over to this country to conquer it. Okay. I understand that. I'm not saying I don't understand that. He came over in ships. What is it? The Mayflower, whatever. I haven't really looked into the subject in years of Chris Columbus and the forming of the nation back when there were, 300 to 400 different Native American tribes at the time all over the U.S. And that if they weren't willing to dig gold for him when he captured them and made a lot of them slaves, he would cut off their hands. And I found out through research that was correct. So this dude was it's whatever, however you want to perceive someone like this, I'm fine with it. I don't care. You want to perceive this guy as a hero or a monster. Either way, I'm open to whatever your perception is on that. But it's just, but the people that are the freedom fighters, quote unquote, that you see in the news are not that. They aren't these people that conduct themselves like with Antifa, for example. I mean, I've already done a video on that where you need to pray for them. Just like, anybody else who's not saved. We don't know who's going to be saved. We don't know. Somebody explained to me once online, but it didn't make sense to me as to how you know if someone's saved, and it's called the Christian work ethic or whatever the Protestant work ethic. There you go. Someone explained that to me here on YouTube years ago, And it doesn't, if someone's saved, if they want to work like 12 to 14 hours a day, that doesn't make any sense. It's not biblical. So it's just some kind of weird, like, church tradition, I guess. So, I mean, look, this is my thing. If you put nationalism, okay, let's say if you're a you're a left-leaning person and you put your own ideas, which essentially is just ideology, which is bad. Ideology is just basically means, to me, from what I learned that from Slavoj Žižek, when someone says that they believe in an ideology, to me, that means you put on glasses and you see what you want to see around you. You're not seeing truth. You're just seeing your own political or whatever, your own personal gains without thinking about other people. So when you're not thinking about the people around you, like, it's like when I'm just going to make this quick, but it's like when someone who is like an Antifa freedom fighter agent, they put on the glasses and they see somebody and they just see Nazi right there. Like, that has nothing to do with the Bible, has nothing to do with Christ. These things are just, but then it could be the same thing of someone who is like a right-wing person, because a lot of those people are Catholics. And a lot of those people, they put on glasses and I would say they're more willing to have a discussion. But at the same time, it's the traditions of the land that they are part of, even if they have birthright or don't have birthright, that is the God to them. And that they don't want anything changed, even though a lot of stuff that other people want changed in America has roots of evil in it. So it's both are wrong, but both could be right at the same time. It's an incredibly complicated, issue, I guess. Anyways. So that was my whole point with that person that I was speaking to. But I got 3 minutes till I'm going to read about the charities that you guys should donate to, but to do your tithes and offerings. And then we'll go to the advice forums. But, I mean, that's, like, you have to know, like, who are you bowing down to? What is in your heart? It's something that you really need to look in the mirror and, like, really reflect on yourself, being that, like, what am I willing to actually die for? If someone puts a gun to your head and says, you better renounce this or I'm going to pull the trigger, like, it's not worth dying, like, in a war, like, depending on the circumstance and the situation. It's not like if you're going to go to like a rally and you're going to bring a weapon and stuff to fight other people, like that you literally see in the news like all the time nowadays, even though everyone's supposed to be wearing masks and the whole COVID thing. It's just nothing adds up. So for a realist like me, I don't believe in any of this. I don't believe in wearing masks when going into public, because you were supposed to do that anyways to stop the spread of any kind of germ, not just COVID. Plus, it's all over the place. Plus, and whatever you turn on for the mainstream media, literally all 24 hours of whatever 5 or 6 networks that you watch are lies. Like, it's just lying nonstop. It has nothing to do with Jesus. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating this point. So it's just, that's them. That's their platforms. You want to die for someone's rhetoric of what that was essentially like a morph or an evolved version of something Karl Marx wrote in the Communist Manifesto. Like, no, just you take a step back and you think about it, and then you quit and you leave. You quit whatever that is, okay? Or it could even be the same if, like, you're just super into Keck and you're super into, like, Groyper culture that's going on right now, or whatever it is. Like, I'm just personally saying that, like, it's a heart issue. It's the point is that we're supposed to be bowing to Christ and doing his will. It is of the will of the Father. That's the point. You're not supposed to die for anything else. So anyways, let's get to the reads here. Now a half hour in. So we got the on Charity Navigator. These are some of the charities that I like to donate to when I get my checks. So I pulled up the 10 charities with the most consecutive 4-star ratings. So you have 4 stars on here. Even if you see that symbol that says the ECFA on it, like the symbol, like if you guys watch Dr. Salem's Christian Worship Hour, which I watch sometimes, they have that on there. So every penny is accounted for on there. So you know that that company is legitimate if they have that sticker. So anyways, number 1 is Kids Alive International. Number 2 is United Way of Central Alabama. Number 3 is Institute for Justice. Number 4 is Robin Hood Foundation. Number 5 is NEADS Inc. Excuse me. Number 6 is PAWS, PAWS Chicago. Number 7 is Energy Outreach Colorado. Number 8 is American Kidney Fund. Number 9 is National Women's Law Center. Oh yeah, I remember that one from last week when I did this video because it reminded me of the what is that, International Poverty Law Center or something like that in the South, and international relief teams. Okay, so those are the those are the charities that I would suggest for you guys to watch, because there's a lot of YouTube channels on here that are asking, guys, we need to get to like 10,000 likes on this, so they can get more money. I mean, I thought about this multiple times, and I'm very glad that I never did this, because I would rather have my nobility, okay? And I want to respect the people that subscribe to my channel that want to watch my videos by not putting commercials on them, like literally everybody else, other than what? Who doesn't do that? Dr. James White from The Dividing Line doesn't have commercials on his channel here on YouTube. It's just a respect thing. If you want money and to put commercials on your channel, you need to go get what is called a job. You need to sit there for 3-4 hours a day and apply for jobs until you get them. And this is what I was saying at the beginning of the video. Like, instead of bowing down to the cathedral, which is going to be even more difficult for you to get some, type of degree, most likely going to be acquiring a lot of debt. College. I mean, my best friend I'm not even going to tell you how much money he owes to the university he's going to. He's about to get his bachelor's degree, but the key is to get a trade school degree. That's the real thing, or to go to a college that is super cheap to go to, where you can still get a doctorate or a master's, like in rural America, like small town America, kind of one of those places like in South Dakota or something, or somewhere in New Mexico, or whatever. But to like become an electrician, to work on like cars, like to become a mechanic, to operate a forklift, like even to become a medical assistant, to become a scrub tech, like there's different things that you can do where you can make money, where you're not bowing down to the system of corruption from the American system, okay, from really any system. I mean, it's a specific type of people I'm not going to bring up, but that I'm telling you not to bow to. But, anyways, basically, if it smells like the Sanhedrin, then stay away from it. So I'll put it like that. But anyways, so those are some of the places that I like to donate to. Even I was talking to my fiance about even doing that. You have to be careful with doing the GoFundMe website. Like if you want to help people out with like their surgeries, or to help pay their bills, or help buy them a car or whatever for them to get to work, like whatever the situation is, I think I donated one time, where my brother did, to this person who needed help paying for the cats. Like the person had a feline pet to pay for their surgery. Like there's, you have to be careful with that, because she was telling me that there's scam artists on there, just like everywhere. I mean, I personally don't even donate to churches. Like, like when I was going to the Calvary Church, and you look around at everything in this place, it's like, there's solid grounds Holy Grounds, whatever that thing is called. Like, there's a cafe in here. There's a basketball, like place for people to do basketball tournaments downstairs. You have the room where the guy's preaching in the pulpit of like Pastor Robert Furley. You see him preaching the pulpit. Then you have an upstairs and then there's also the side with the Christian school, and they have like computers and stuff. Like, you don't need to donate to that. So do not donate any money to any mega church. Like, if they have over 2,000 members, do not give them money unless the Lord puts it on your heart to donate to them, because that's the Lord speaking to you. But me personally, it's, the people that Jesus called the rejects of society are the ones that need the money. Like, go help a homeless person eat and get them out of poverty kind of thing. That instead. Anyways. All right. So if you guys are new to this channel or new to my videos here after I do my whole little spiel and talk about what's been going on in my week or what I'm talking to different people online, I go through advice forums and then try to help some people out. Like, if there's something you're personally struggling with, like, hey, I might go over it. You don't know. So, all right, we're going to go to the first one here. Conor McGregor did a shocking announcement on his Twitter. Like, so? There's a bum fighter. All right. So, this person's asking for advice. So, for the old men that failed at life, how do I stop my fate from being the same as yours? Don't give me any basic answers like go out, get a job, get a girlfriend. If you say things like this, at least explain how. Okay, well, I would highly suggest for someone like that, for a man who feels like they just don't have seating in society, like if it's really hurting your ego and respect, because I know that these things are very important to a man. I'm just saying that you should watch Dr. Jordan Peterson's videos. I've already suggested this many times on this channel. Going back like 2 years now, if any person is like in their 30s or 40s that are having this problem, that are still working at McDonald's, or you're still working the drive-through at Burger King and you're thinking like, man, I really screwed this up, start watching his videos. He's really going to clear things up for you. Just go on it's called the Archangel, like 9/11, where he does the clips. There's a Jordan Peterson clips. There's Jordan Peterson's actual YouTube channel. I mean, he was so influential onto me that if you see on my box here for the display, I actually mirrored that off of how Jordan Peterson put together his YouTube channel on there, and also for his podcast, of how he took the picture of himself and then the background of the artwork that he made. It's getting a little tongue-tied there. So it is not the end. Christ can fix anything. If you are one of his children, then he is going to fix the situation, meaning that there's a problem with your heart, most likely, or it's just you made a series of mistakes that went years on end where you're a man, you didn't do anything with your life. And that's going to be, apparently this guy is feeling it right now. So highly suggest to watch Dr. B. Peterson's videos. I would highly suggest that. That's how it's going to be, like a climbing up the steps process. Okay. And you need to start praying every day and reading the Bible, reading scripture every day for guidance. So pick a star and then walk towards it. Okay. All right. Next one. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat again. Okay. Next one on here. Every time I finish my workout at the gym and undress, guys my age. Okay. Manhood problem here. Some are polite. So when this guy undresses at the gym and he feels inadequate. Some are polite, mind their own business, but others just somehow make it obvious of what they think. My ex-girlfriend also cheated on me with a guy who, how do I put this, had a bigger manhood, to put it like that, and was always unpleased with my performance. I don't know what to do anymore. Life has no meaning or source because I feel incomplete all the time. Do I compensate? Do I dominate? How do I dominate other men in other ways? What is the point? Please help. Okay. So here's the problem with that. Okay. I don't know if this is. The thing is that when reading these advice forums on here, some of these questions, you need to sit down and talk to the person like for months on end, like see this person at least once a week to find where the plane is there. Okay. But to just dispense advice, I would say for this person, your eyes are adjusted on the wrong thing. Okay. Having a problem with your manhood, it's pretty much the same problem that I've noticed with a lot of guys that are deeply stuck into well, the second line in the question slash statement was the guy was saying that his girlfriend cheated on him because of he didn't have big enough manhood, I'll put it like that. I'm trying to keep this like a G-rated show here, or PG show. And I can understand. I mean, this never personally happened to me, but I've never been cheated on. But that it just seems like that your inner pride is just broken and you don't know where to go and what to do from this point forward. So the thing is that it's pretty much along the same lines of what I've suggested last time, is that you need to, like, I'll put it like this. You're putting way too much emphasis on things like this, where it's like in this dominance hierarchy, like at the gym and with women, that you want to feel that you're at the top, that you need to be at the top, which also, once again, Jordan Peterson has talked about this many times on his videos, and he can explain it so much better than I can. So what really, I'm saying that you're putting way too much of an emphasis on how you feel about how other people perceive you, because you're supposed to be walking around like you're dominant regardless. And everything is going to change for you once you quit watching porn and you stop masturbating and you force yourself to do these things. I understand. Hold on just a second. Like the air is really dry in here. Like I feel like I'm getting cotton mouth. Anyways, so it's pretty much kind of the same, like it's like a lot of men don't know how to be themselves. They don't know how to be a man. They don't know how to act, how to present themselves in public. You're supposed to be walking around with your, back arched, and you're not, like, it's not all about, but a lot of it has to do with pressure of having semen retention. That's a big part of it. It's not the main point. The main point, even said that Jesus was talking about in the book of Matthew that when, before he got arrested, that twice the disciples kept falling asleep. And then he told Peter and the disciples when they woke up, he woke them up the second time after Jesus was praying, "Can you take this cup from me, Lord? But if it's your will, I'm going to do it." He was saying that stay awake and vigilant, because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So you're going to relapse. But this is what I did. I went to Reddit and I went to this thing called nofap, or how to become a fapstronaut. Okay. So when you put Christ first and accept that you're supposed to be celibate up until marriage, you're not even supposed to be watching porn. No man is supposed to watch that. And with the whole masturbating thing, just not having confidence within yourself, those are things that can be fixed, but it's gonna take time. It's like it's not just going to be a 3-day thing and then everything, it's just going to change. It's like I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be a lifelong process for you to be able to get your manhood back and to build your confidence back up again. So it's not that uh, your manhood is a problem. It's how you conduct yourself. That is what the problem is. So let's go to the next thing. Are nootropics a scam? Will it help me become functional? Was like a form of caffeine. I don't know what that is. All right, next thing. Like basically, someone actually had this question last week on my show when I was going through this advice form. I mean, the thing is that if you want to get energy, you're supposed to do it the natural way, which is getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep uninterrupted, or getting as much sleep as you can. Like if you want to, because a lot of guys have to take long naps throughout the night because they just can't stay asleep for whatever reason. And to exercise. These are the two things that are supposed to give you energy throughout the day, and then coffee at the same time. I mean, I would just pop a Centrum pill and whatnot. Not to say that I don't screw up in this area because I drink a lot of energy drinks, but I'm just saying that those are the natural ways of how you're supposed to get energy. So if you notice yourself that, like, hey, I need to start taking pills for whatever reason because I can't stay awake during the day, then you need to slowly wean yourself off of everything of caffeine related and your diet downwards for like 20, 30 days. So break it down all the way to the point where it resets the stuff in your brain, like the chemicals that shoot off that give you energy. Those things, you probably burned the endings off in your brain, and that's why you need to drink coffees that have 4, 6, 8 shots of espresso in them, or you're drinking a Monster, like you're chugging 3 bangs a day. You're not supposed to be doing that. So anyways, let's get to the next one here. But whatever that is, your nootropics, I don't know what that is. Okay, next one. Individuals with neuroticism, personality trait that leads to mental illness like depression and bipolar disorder. Do you live? It's close to impossible to achieve something for me. I am crying as I write this. It's very hard to understand how to work around yourself. I wish I could, a person like myself, so we can help each other to get better. Okay. Someone who suffers from mental illness, from depression and bipolar disorder. Okay. Here's what I would suggest if you suffer from that, being that I personally suffer from panic disorders. Okay. I was having, many years ago, back in 2006, I was suffering from a panic attack, like one to two a day. And this went on for like 3, 4, 5 months. Like I was hospitalized for having panic attacks once. So, and I've had multiple MRI scans, like whatever it is. The thing is that it's always like, you have to keep in mind that it's always going to get better. It's not just, well, this is one of 2 parts I'm going to say. It's not just, well, I'm depressed in this moment and it's going for this amount of time. And then it's just going to stay like this. Even though most likely you're going to go back to that, it doesn't mean that everything is bad all the time. So I understand that it's hard. I mean, being that I don't know if I'm bipolar. I know my dad is, but I mean, I suffer from panic. It's called or anxiety disorder. I mean, my dad's doctor told me it's called panic disorder. But anyways, it's just, you need to have something to hold on to. So holding on to the faith, holding on to Jesus, knowing that it's going to be okay. But also the second thing, or actually I have 2 more things to suggest. The second one is you need to go see a therapist or a psychiatrist. And if you can't afford one, at least for now, you need to start looking for a job so you can afford, or a second job so you can afford to go to therapy. And in the meantime, download that Bird app. That's what I do sometimes if I can't figure something out in my head. I feel like I can't talk to anybody about it, which is fairly rare. But when I feel that I'm just really down and I don't know what to do, it's called the Wysa. It's like WYSA. It's a bird. You talk to, it talks to you back. It's on the Google Play apps, but it is a robot therapist that you can basically talk to it for as long as you want. It has exercises for you. It talks to you about fallacies. It talks to you about like different things, like even a thing that I learned about myself as to why I do certain things that produce sadness and anger sometimes, or a lot of the time actually. It's called the heaven's reward fallacy, and I didn't know that until I was using that bird app like a year ago. So even though it's kind of a stupid computer, you can cuss at it and you can yell at it. It's not going to yell back. So you can abuse it to make yourself feel better. So if you want to try that, but if you have the money, I would highly suggest for you to go on Google and look, or Bing, and go ahead and look up a therapist. You need to start seeing someone once a week, and that whatever it is that you're feeling of this. Well, the third thing, I just remember the third thing is also to get antidepressants. Try to get a doctor to sit down and evaluate with you, not something where you're going to possibly struggle with possibly ODing on it. I'm talking about something that's normal, regular low dose, like where you're almost microdosing the medication the doctor gives you for antidepressants. It could just be in your brain. When people say they're depressed or bipolar or whatever, and they don't know why they're upset, like I have this, it'll happen to me like maybe once a month or so. It's usually that something's wrong inside your brain where the chemicals are not firing correctly, or they're not firing at all. So you're not feeling any endorphins. That antidepressants fixes that so you feel normal, but you're not like in a fog, or you feel like you're a zombie or something like that. So there you go. There's a couple of suggestions there. So, I use the Bird app too. So another thing, because a lot of guys I've noticed in these advice forums, they like, even when I was watching this one guy's videos about his struggle with drug addiction, and you need just stuff to get out of you so you can function correctly. I do this with writing when I write poetry or I write songs. Like me and my friend have a band, and we make songs on the weekends every time I hang out with them. And I write poetry and short stories to get things off of my chest so I don't snap. I use it as a filter basically when I write, so I don't snap and scream at somebody. I try to be as normal and level-headed as possible. So, it's like what's his name, Mike, when he was rapping at the beginning of Office Space. I can't talk to my mother, so I talk to my diary. Remember that? All right, next one here. How do normies cope with this? You're eternally. They sit content and smug, knowingly claim her before you did. I don't know. What is the question? You find a girlfriend, but you're eternally cucked by everyone who has slept with her before you. They sit content and smug, knowing they claimed her before you did. How does a normie cope with this? All right. So, bit of a bizarre question there. Okay. Well, this is why it's very important for, like I was telling my brother this, that when you want to date, you need to go to church to do this. It's very difficult going on these websites, leading like what I was telling you guys earlier, like when a lot of women that are scantily clad, dressed, or whatnot are bowing to the whore of Babylon, right? Most women in American culture today are not like, it is seldom anywhere that you're going to find a woman who's a virgin. Like, and I understand that that's when a guy wants to, I guess, settle down and wants to have a family, like the American dream kind of thing with the white picket fence, the dog, the 2.3 kids, whatever that thing is that they don't want a woman they don't want broken merchandise. I'll put it like that. But even if a woman's not technically quote unquote a virgin, like the one who genuinely is following after Christ and his teachings, I mean, a lot of guys get this screwed up too. Like, you want You want to have your cake and eat it too. You want a girlfriend and you want things to go really well, but you don't want to do it by God's standards. You don't want to put the ring on the woman's finger, say, I'm committing to you and we're going to get married and I'm not going to date anybody else and I'm not going to watch porn. Like, I'm not saying you're not going to never do these things. You're going to stumble. It's going to happen. You're going to screw up. I'm just saying that, like, well, it's like I read a lot of this on here too. Oh, my girlfriend's not like clean or whatever in my eyes. So, but you're not willing to take the extra steps yourself when it's very clear that it talks about in the Old and New Testament that you are to commit to one woman and that you are, preferably someone who's saved, a woman. That's why I'm saying for you guys to go to there's these, I don't even think I've ever went to a college group that had women in it that weren't like at least below an 8. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it's nothing but dimes at these churches. And a lot of them don't have boyfriends, like, because a lot of, dating's not really in the Bible. So, like, okay, you want someone that's going to make you feel really good and happy and give you attention, behind the scenes kind of thing for a guy. I'm just saying, like, but you're not willing to put in the work yourself of doing it the correct and right way. Like, you have to evaluate how you feel and how you're seeing this, how you're perceiving this too. It's not just her, like, oh, she's not a virgin, so I can't feel confident about myself. You're not supposed to feel confident. You're supposed to, like, about her. You're supposed to be rooted and centered in yourself through Scripture, through Christ. You're a man. I mean, it's called a simp, but you're a man that's supposed to know. You know what you want. You know how to stand up for yourself. You are able to have red flags and act upon them if you're dating a woman who you find out's a nutcase. Like, it's more of a thing where you need to look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, look at videos like David Goggins, Jocko Willings, Jordan Peterson. Again, like, it's all about, a lot of this is self-perception and it's a heart issue at the same time. So there's a lot you need to look at as a man. So, and if you're not into it, then just break up. Like, if it's that big of a deal for you that your emotions are swayed by what she's doing, what her past is and whatnot, that means you're a simp. Break up with the woman and you need to go on a spiritual journey, kind of thing. And what I mean by that is you need to go buy a Bible and you need to read Scripture every day and then start a prayer life and then start going to church. Like, you need to fix, you need to allow the Holy Spirit to fix you first. So, and then you can date. All right, let's do one more. You want a scientific cope. The human body takes anywhere from 7 to 10 years to replace all its cells. Cells are constantly dying. Oh, wait, no, this isn't a question. Hold on. I put a suit on a cat. Anyways, I am now over a month without masturbation. Nothing has changed. Is something going to happen? I was last 2 nights really close to a wet dream. Nocturnal emission. It's in Deuteronomy. Luckily, I woke up with just a erect. I really don't. I'm going to use medical terms. I really don't want to wake up like this. Should I continue nofap, or should I just stop? This is going to be the last questions. I got a minute left. Everybody's chemistry. I'm talking about guys. I'm talking about men here. Every man's chemistry is different. Some men are going to feel like that within 2 to 3 days. Me, I usually get really, really angry and upset and depressed for the first 3 to 4 days, but then it changes it, So the point is with celibacy, it's going to make you into this man. I'm not saying that there's not going to be the dark periods in celibacy where you're going to get super tempted. So it's going to happen. I personally, if this person was in my practice or we were having a meeting, I would say continue it. Do it for another month. Keep at it. Okay. Like the point, I mean, that's not even how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, anyways. We're supposed to be celibate till marriage. Then we can have intercourse with the wife that we have as much as we want, or even to just stop that and only dedicate ourselves to prayer and study, like have a time of celibacy between the two people there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, this is Pastor Sean from Death Church Radio podcast, and also the Sean C. Stookie Show on here, YouTube, and Facebook. And God bless. Okay.